3, 2, 1.
What's up, everyone? Hope everybody out there is off to a great week. Man, the news, coming down today, the passing of Humpy Wheeler. And, man, such a legend in our sport. Passed away yesterday of natural causes, surrounded by his family. And, man, such an innovator and contributor to the racing world in so many ways, even outside of NASCAR. And, I know everybody's going to be covering this in so many aspects, but man, I want to share a couple stories, my personal stories, because he had an impact in my life. I know some of y'all know my dad worked for Charlotte Motor Speedway back in the early '80s, and it was kind of my first initial impact coming from New York to North Carolina. Was some of these people like Humpy Wheeler, and I got to witness a lot of the things that he did, the innovations that he did. I got to witness them firsthand. Because back then, me and my brother kept our motorcycles over in the woods shed over between turns 3 and 4. We used to ride all over the racetrack, or not the racetrack, but the facility. Let's say that, and down through the tunnel into the infield. Just such a cool place, such a cool time, and to witness these things that he did back then firsthand was so damn cool. Because he was a fighter. He was a fighter for the fans. He was a fighter for the drivers. And he was just a fighter, literally. That's what he was. He was a Golden Gloves champion as a boxer. And at one time was one fight from possibly fighting Muhammad Ali. And never quit fighting. Never quit fighting for nothing. And he was such a big impact to not only the race fans, but a lot of the drivers. If you see my Don McTavish episode, Humpy Wheeler is one of the biggest reasons why Don comes south to try to go make a run of it in NASCAR. Unfortunately, Don lost his life at Daytona, but he came here with the encouragement of Humpy Wheeler because that's what he's done for so many drivers to bring them up through their careers. And he's also helped drivers outside of that with training practices that he had. There's also a story, Jimmy Johnson getting into the boxing ring with him a couple times. And Jimmy, the second time evidently in the ring, Humpy kind of went to his ass a little bit, I guess. And that was kind of the end of Jimmy Johnson and Humpy Wheeler boxing each other at the time. So, just such an impactful person on so many drivers' lives. But again, just always a person for the fans, because I can remember back in the day, he would actually set up a boxing ring at Charlotte Motor Speedway down below the flag stand just for entertainment values during race weekend. So when stuff wasn't happening on the racetrack, people could watch boxing. And if you remember this, please share your comments down below, because it's just so cool, the things he did. And he also, he brought in Jimmy the Flying Greek, which I can tell you, he was around a lot. There was a lot of things back then with that, but also, big with the military, obviously, military recreations and things that happened there. Innovated by putting condos at Charlotte Motor Speedway to start with, letting people live at the racetrack. I mean, that was unheard of at that time, but this was stuff that he wanted to do, and they did. And also night racing. I mean, putting the lights in there at the racetrack. That was something that I can still remember so many people going, "That you're crazy. It's not going to work. That there's no way it's going to be like daytime." And then, damn, by the end of the first race, everybody's like, "This is cool." And the innovation just kept growing, because you look how many tracks we got now that we're seeing racing under the lights. And that was Humpy. That was his innovation to do some things like this. So just so damn cool, and going to be missed by many. But one of the other things I want to bring up here right quick, he also was the co-founder of the Legends Car series. And this was again because he wanted to help grassroots racers have a more affordable way to come up and go racing. And, I was fortunate enough to get into that series in 1994. I got a ride for part of the season. And I want to share 2 quick stories with you of interactions with Humpy with this, because it shows what kind of person he was. And this was at Charlotte, running the backstretch track. I had a guy on a restart come through the grass, missed a turn, basically rammed the hell out of me in the side, and kept running into me, running a caution, just kept doing stupid stuff. And he finally ended up flipping me off. And so I was returning the same thing and saw somebody walk out on the racetrack and right before turn one, and I just turned around instinctively and did the same thing to that person. And by the time I got back around next time, I could see that it was Humpy Wheeler, who was standing there with his finger extended, pointing to the pit area. And by the time I got back around, officials were on the racetrack and escorted me back into the pit area. But the cool thing was, just a few weeks later, we were racing at Somerville Speedway. If I'm not mistaken, this was the first time the Legends cars ever went to Somerville. And I had a rough night, let's just say that. And I had a right rear that started going flat from the drop of the green flag. I knew what was happening. But the race was supposed to be 25 laps, ended up being 66 laps. So there's no time to change a tire. We're going to go laps down and everything else. So every caution, because there was a bunch, I'd come back in, I'd get guys to pump up the tire, go back out, and I could see the leader in 3 and 4 every time, and I would hold back, and as soon as I seen them punch it, I'd hit it, go to the outside, and I could pass 8 or 10 cars by the time we got to the flag stand. I would just stay on the outside, and hell, I'd be right back up in the top 10 in no time. But then another caution, and the tire would be going down. I just kept repeating this process, and ended up finishing 9th. Thankfully, there was a caution with like 5 laps to go, and ended up finishing 9th. Come into the pit area, and tires pretty much flat, and sitting there at the scales, and there was Humpy Wheeler, and he come over and told me, he said, "Boy, that was a hell of a run right there," and said, "I appreciate you putting on a show, help put on a show for these new fans out here of this series." And that's the guy he was. He went from the guy who could have been pissed at me for my dumbass move a few weeks prior to giving me congratulations for a good run under the situation. And I'll say this much too, because I've seen him a lot outside of that. I used to run the shop at the museum, the car museum below Charlotte Motor Speedway, and Humpy used to be in there a lot. And I'll say this much, that every time you saw the man, he had a smile on his face. And if he didn't have a smile on his face, he was thinking. And that was pretty wild to think back as I've thought about old memories today. But here's what I want to leave you with. And this is his own words right here, because he cared about you as fans. He cared about the race car drivers. He cared about the series and just making it more, making it better. So listen to this.
Those people in the grandstand don't want to be manipulated. They won't stand to be manipulated. They get enough of that at work every day. And these people in the grandstand, they're not doctors and lawyers. There's a few of them. They're people that work with their hands. They're backhoe operators. They're dock workers. They're people that work. They're the salt of the earth. So some of you sponsors, just tone it down a little bit. Let your drivers do what they may. Don't try to change them. Let them dress the way they want to dress. I would say to tell them not to buy such fancy motorhomes and jet planes and maybe come down to earth a little bit.
That was him. A true legend. Got to come up through the sport, helped it change, and still wanted to hold on to some of them roots, especially letting drivers be themselves. And so it's cool to see the announcement of North Wilkesboro getting a points race this year, Chicagoland coming back on, Xfinity trucks out there at Rockingham again. That's the nostalgia, and I hope some of these promoters and everybody else are able to continue and harness what Humpy Wheeler did, because damn, he was a hell of a promoter, probably the best ever. But you're gonna be missed, man. We'll see you at the checkered flag.